Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Zarin. I'm joined by John Bubb, as I meet you every week. How you doing, John?
What, no special names for me like you do with Paul Thurrott?
You know what's really funny? I came up with one for you today, and I totally forgot to say it. You know what? I'm going to do it all over again. We're going to start the show, but we're not going to cut the recording. We're just going to pretend none of this happened. Here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Zarin. I'm joined by John, the Undertaker Bubb. How you doing, John?
Well, I am wearing black.
You are the Undertaker.
I just need a hat.
Yeah, you just need a cowboy hat, and you're perfectly fine. Oh man, it is snowing here in New York. The first day of spring. I know spring doesn't officially start till about 6:45 p.m., but it's snowing. And
it's because of that solar eclipse, man.
Yeah, it's a solar eclipse. It's a solar eclipse. The first day of spring, and it's like a supermoon today.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of stuff happening in one time.
It wasn't last week the Friday the 13th?
Last week was the Friday the 13th. So there's so much happening.
It's crazy, man.
So much happening. So how you doing?
I'm recovering still.
Still not feeling 100%.
Still not 100%, no.
Yeah, it's you know what it is? I think it's a combination of, the bad weather we've been having. It's been cold, it's been hot, and just a total change in the weather also kind of does that.
Yeah.
When the spring comes, I kind of get like that every year. I know a lot of our viewers, we talk about this all the time. A lot of our viewers kind of have the same exact problem that I do. But hopefully everything is going back to normal here. With the weather getting nicer.
So
And
it's this freeze-thaw pattern that they keep talking about.
yeah, I need to be de-thawed. I've been needing
Take a damn temperature, Mother Nature.
I know. John, why don't we talk about some stuff that happened this week? A lot of, sporadic stories were coming out, and it wasn't like all in one shot like we normally get. Every day we got a new story. Why don't you go into this Wall Street Journal story about a new Apple TV? There's two stories here. One about a new TV service that they're coming up with about 25 channels, which I know you're going to have a lot to say about it, and I know I'm going to have a lot to say about it, because we're kind of in that cord-cutting phase right now. And
so
a revamped Apple TV.
A little over a week ago, Apple had their big spring forward event where they announced the Apple Watch, but they also announced that the Apple TV is $69. This week, we got a whole bunch of new rumors for the Apple TV, including Apple's TV service, which they're reporting from the Wall Street Journal is due out this fall with about 25 channels, including ABC, CBS, and Fox. And they say that this is going to happen sometime in the fall for around a subscription fee of $30 to $40. But there's one big drawback to this is that NBC Universal is not being negotiated with this service.
So NBC Universal, that's due to Comcast owning NBC Universal, having somewhat of a fallout with Apple, apparently due to its X1 service.
I guess I didn't even know that they had some sort of falling out because of the X1 service.
Can you? I know what is the X1 service? You're familiar with
the
it.
X1 service is somewhat of a hybrid DVR type of service where it can actually search online for certain things, where it's trying to combine both internet media and your traditional DVR capabilities.
Okay, so can you give me an example and give the audience an example of searching online for something and I guess watching cable and the DVR capabilities? Like, give me some sort of option. Like, is it searching?
Well, like
Hulu?
in the commercials, they'll show a celebrity from like a TV show saying, find this, find me in whatever. Like, find anything with Samuel L. Jackson in it, and they'll just bring up everything that it has for Samuel L. Jackson, both on their DVR on-demand service and wherever else it looks.
The other thing here is 25 channels, which is not a significant lineup. We did some number crunching, I guess, on What the Tech, and this is not a good deal if this is the case. 25 channels for $30 to $40. If you were to get basic cable service from Time Warner Cable, which we use as an example, I believe it was $29 and you got 70 channels. So you're not really getting the most bang for your buck. And this is the question, and I'm not saying it as to insult anybody that's a cord cutter. I know a lot of our viewers are cord cutters, but if your option is $25 for $30, 25 channels for $30, or 70 channels for $30, why would I want to cut the cord? I really want to know, am I missing something here? Because 25 channels is not significant.
Well, no. But the pricing is still better than PlayStation Vue. I think CNET or The Verge, I think it was The Verge that had an article about cord cutting today and comparing some of the services out there between PlayStation Vue, Netflix, Amazon, Sling TV. And PlayStation Vue actually has about the same amount of channels, but they're charging $50 or $49 per month for their subscription.
Yeah, I'm looking, but you got local channels with this, with PlayStation Vue, apparently.
Yeah, PlayStation Vue actually has a pretty decent amount of channels, but you are going to pay more money for they're one of the most expensive subscription services out there for TV over the internet.
Yeah, CNET actually has a comparison. I don't know if The Verge also has, but I saw CNET has a comparison between PlayStation Vue and Sling TV, streaming live TV compared. They're comparing it amongst all their services. We talk about this a lot here. I think it's because you're interested by this concept, and many of our viewers are, because we kind of share the same viewer, I guess we're in the same viewer universe as Brian Brushwood and what they're doing over there with cord killers. But I'm fascinated by this whole notion of cutting the cord and not being, tied down to a cable company. But it still comes down to one thing: sports on the internet, streaming.
You're
via
always
the
going to be
internet.
missing something.
It's fine. I get it. You're gonna miss something. But when it comes to sports, it doesn't look as good when you cut the cord and you watch on a web-based service or an internet-based service compared to the cable company. That's where it lacks for me. Everything else up to par. You're probably going to get better service, better quality. Watching House of Cards on Netflix than you probably will if House of Cards was on a cable channel. That's the reality of it. But the fact that sports does not look as good, I'm telling you right now, John, I have to order WrestleMania next month in 2 weeks. Actually, it's next week. I'm going to have to order WrestleMania and pay $60 because I can't stand watching the online stream in 720p.
That's weird.
It's not the 720p that bothers me. It's the low bit rate that bothers me because everything kind of gets like this ghosty feel to it. The bit rate is what really matters. So that's where we have an issue. Normal cables between
it's the way that it's being encoded.
It's the encoding method, and you know what? They can't send out an 18 megabits stream over these services. Most people are not going to be able to access it.
I would argue that actual cable TV isn't all that great either.
No, depending on the channel, depending on the QAM, and depending on how many times they're splitting it. There's a lot here.
NBC has one of the worst looking channels. They may be 1080i, but they still have one of the worst looking channels out there.
Yeah, there's a couple of things to consider here. When we talk about cable and we talk about services, it's MPEG. Is it MPEG 2, MPEG 4? Most of them are MPEG 4 now, so fine. How many times are they splitting the QAM? I'm hoping I'm getting that analogy correct. I think that's what they do. I think that's how I've understood this, where they'll split a channel up to 4 times.
Yeah.
So the bandwidth is now being shared. So if there was 20 megabits dedicated to that, it's being split 4 times. That's why some channels look bad and some channels look good. The other thing is how much compression is being involved. Is the stream in 720 or is the feed in 720 or 1080, and how are they downscaling it? There's a lot that goes into this. So,
and there's the same amount of weird little variables when you're actually broadcasting online as well.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot that goes into this. So I'll give you another example, okay? Watching wrestling. If I watch the same pay-per-view over the live stream, the audio for the crowd mic doesn't come out as much as if I were to watch it on pay-per-view.
Huh.
There's some sort of compression happening with the audio where certain things are not being picked up because of the live stream compared to traditional pay-per-view. So listen, for a lot of people, if you are that obsessed with sports, if you're that obsessed with quality, yeah, you're not going to be happy like me. But 99% of the people that are watching this are happy because they're saving money and they're getting the content. They will not see what I see, and they will probably not see what John sees, because John has like X-ray vision. He could spot a freaking molecule. Like we're a little crazy when it comes to this stuff. But that's my point of view, and that's why I'm still ordering the pay-per-view and spending the $70. Now, John, the pricing is a little off for me. It's a little expensive, $40.
Well, it's Apple.
If that's what it is.
What do you expect?
Well, no, it's not just Apple. I mean, PlayStation View's doing that. Sling is doing that. You're getting limited channels, and
it's still better than paying $15 a month just for HBO.
That is a lot. Yeah, that's expensive too.
That's one channel you're getting for $15.
Does anybody know that's watching this how much it would be if I were to go to the cable company and say I want HBO?
Supposedly it's around the $15 mark.
It's around it, but what they do, they bundle everything else in there, right? Like that's from what I understand. So if you wanted HBO, they'll be like, hey, listen, get Showtime and Cinemax also. We'll bundle all this for $15. So I guess that's how they kind of sell this. I don't necessarily think the idea of cutting the cord is what's going to drive this. I think what's going to happen is these cable companies are going to start freaking out, and they're going to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. If you have our cable service, you can watch everything and anything no matter what device you're on. That's how they're going to...
That's what I'm looking for. I want to watch what I want, when I want, where I want.
Yeah.
Regardless. And I don't see that really happening just yet. Sling TV is a good example of a service where you're paying the $20 subscription fee for Sling TV to access all those channels over the internet, but you're still only limited to actually watching it in one place at one time.
One place at one time.
Whether it's on your computer or your Xbox or PlayStation, whatever you're using to access Sling TV, you're only able to access it once.
Yeah. And listen, it also comes down to when I know people are saying, you end up spending a lot more. It depends on what you want. If you're happy with just Netflix, if you're happy with just Hulu, which I know a ton of people that would be totally happy with just Hulu, then you're fine. You're saving a ton of money. You don't need to spend that. But if you're getting Hulu and you're getting Netflix and you're bundling, this Apple service, or you're bundling Sling TV,
the fact that you still get ads even on Hulu Plus just bugs the crap out of me.
You know what? It doesn't really bother me that much. I at first I hated it, John. I really hated it. But now, even if I have it on demand via Fios, I'll still watch it on Hulu Plus. I feel that the quality is better on Hulu Plus than I'm going to get on demand. So, I like it. Have you? Oh, no. I'll ask you this question off the air. Never mind. Never mind. To kind of continue with the Apple TV story, Wall Street Journal also is reporting. Actually, BuzzFeed is reporting this along with a couple other people. I can't tell what the original source is at this point because everybody is kind of piggybacked on the story. But the company's planning to announce a new Apple TV at WWDC in June. Sources are saying that it's going to be packed. It'll pack in just about everything that people are hoping for, such as an app store, Siri-powered voice commands, spec bumps. They're predicting or anticipating it's going to have the A8 processor and more storage. Nothing is officially confirmed, but I guess this kind of goes down the line of what everybody else is doing and what Apple kind of has to do, because it's been a couple of years that this device has come out. The interesting thing is an app store. What does that mean for Apple TV and how we're going to use it? What kind of apps are going to be on here? Are we talking about Roku-style programming? Are we talking Apple
they're
kind of
talking
being
about
strict?
Like a real app store like you have on your iPad or your iPhone. Is what they're talking about. Right now, I guess it's more of a very limited Roku-like channel store.
No, there is no channel store.
What they're actually looking for is something more of a similar experience to what you have on your iPhone or iPad.
But John, there is no channel store.
There's some sort of store.
No, you can't download anything.
Well, how do you get the HBO?
It's all automatically there. It's all automatically there.
Automatically there.
Even if you don't want it. Like there's let's say Vivo, right, which is one of those channels, or Crackler. It's there. You can't take it off. You can't do anything. It's there. It's part of Apple TV.
That's annoying.
It is. It's a little annoying. I'm curious at what kind of apps they're going to allow. Now, if they're going to allow stuff like a Roku-style programming, does that really fit the Apple mentality when they're kind of closed with this device? Are they going to... are we going to see podcast? Like, are we going to see a GFQ app on Apple TV apps? I would absolutely love to have a GFQ app on Apple TV. It would be great. But is it something?
I'm assuming it's going to be extremely similar to what we have now with the App Store on iOS.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't see them doing anything differently.
Yeah, but you know what I can see
it
them
might
doing?
be more restrictive in terms of actually only looking for apps that are going to really benefit the Apple TV. But other than that, I don't see it being much different.
Yeah, I don't see it much different either. What I do kind of see Apple being able to do that Roku doesn't is kind of being strict with the criteria for content. Rather than having, a bunch of junk channels on there, they may be a little bit closed, and their, I guess, approval process would be a little bit more strict when it comes to apps. The other thing I would love to see...
That's what I'm saying.
The other thing I would love to see is some sort of integration with the iPad and the iPhone and Apple TV where your apps are there. I know you could AirPlay them, but the experience isn't that great. We haven't seen too many apps take advantage of this to the extent that we kind of would want to see. But I kind of do see Apple kind of getting into the console market and the gaming market, because think about it, they have the greatest, they are the #1 console in the world, in my opinion. You don't see them trying to get into this and having games developed just for Apple TV?
It's hard to say, because the reason I am skeptical of that is the amount of attention that they've actually given the Apple TV over the last couple of years. Other than throwing new channels at it, Apple really has not done much with the Apple TV.
Sporadic updates that mean nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's why I'm skeptical of your claim that they're going to try and make this more of a mobile gaming console.
Here's another interesting thing. Apple also made it clear that its set-top box will play a big role in its HomeKit platform.
I have absolutely no clue what that's going to do.
I don't either. I mean, can you come up with some sort of scenario that, or maybe the chat could do this? How would it play a big role in HomeKit?
Unless it has something to do with, you're having a connected home of some sort.
I guess so. Obviously, they got to do something that's going to kind of knock it out of the park, because everybody's doing the same thing at this point. There's nothing special over, they're all the same essentially. One has something and the other one is missing it. Like, it's the same thing all across the board. I would like to see what they're going to do. So June is right around the corner. We're not too far from that. I'm hopeful to see what it is. And I'm also curious about the pricing, because they recently dropped the price down to $69 for the current Apple TV.
I think that's kind of a crappy deal, in the fact that they've dropped the price ahead of a possible launch for new hardware.
Yeah, they're getting rid of inventory, John. That's what they want to do.
It's crappy, because that's not usual Apple. Usually they'll announce something and drop the price of the previous generation.
Yeah, Curtis B says with HomeKit, there's rumors that a new remote is Siri-based, so you could have Apple lock doors, turn lights on, and turn lights off. That would be interesting. And then it turns on you and takes your wife away and runs away to some island. Some more news, I guess, in the console. Nintendo's finally going to start developing for smartphones. A lot of people are going to be excited over this. Nintendo is a fascinating company with a fascinating corporate structure where they're very closed, and now they're saying, well, we are going to start making games. What we are not going to do is put our existing games on smartphones and mobile devices. We're going to create new games for those, I guess, platforms that involve original characters. So you're going to have a Mario game that is not Super Mario Brothers.
This will be interesting to see if they can pull it off with new games.
You know what you're going to see? I'm telling you right now, you're going to see like a bunch of those stupid card games. You know what I'm talking about? Like a Bejeweled, maybe a Dr. Mario type game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm honestly, that's what maybe like a beat 'em up, like a quick beat 'em up game. You're not going to see the titles that you want to see. But if it is successful...
if this is going to be successful, they're going to have to take some lessons from their Nintendo 3DS.
Yeah.
So Nintendo 3DS has been their most successful product of recent years.
And it's a great device. It's a nice little device.
And if they're not taking any lessons from that, if they're going along the lines of something completely different, something completely new, I don't know that it's going to work.
You know what else I was thinking? This may be a test for them. Because imagine if they were to release just Super Mario Brothers ported to iOS. I'm really, really anticipating that this thing would sell millions immediately. They would make so much money from this game's launch on the iPad, where, you know, start porting these original titles. Start putting them on there.
I mean, they could do something original. It's just that they don't have a great track record of doing original stuff.
And they're having an issue with their actual original titles because Zelda has not been released on the Wii U, and the Wii U's been around for quite a few years. There's been one real Mario game. They had a Luigi version, but it's not really, you know, a new Mario game.
They need to take lessons from their 3DS and also from the games on iOS that do really good. All those weird fighting games and Candy Crush, and just come up with some versions that are similar to that.
And that's what they're probably going to do. They're going to have a Candy Crush version. They're going to have maybe some sort of tower defense game.
Tower defense.
And they'll do well. Yeah, they'll do well with that. I mean, I guess they'll do well.
That's what they should do. If they're going to create original stuff, that's what they need to be doing. They need to be doing something that's going to be similar to the Candy Crush type of crap and the tower defense type of stuff.
Yeah. Let's move on to some Windows news, some Microsoft news, John. Windows 10 is going to be launching this summer, I guess the end of summer, with 190 countries. They are also giving a free upgrade. This is stuff that we know. If you're using Windows 7 or Windows 8, you're getting a free upgrade. There was a couple other stories, like the Internet Explorer brand being killed. I think this is a great idea. That entire brand has been hurt. They've suffered from bad, I guess it's bad PR to begin with. IE has not been known as a great browser for quite a few years. They've had a lot of issues with it, a lot of security issues.
I'm still not crazy about the latest Internet Explorer to begin with.
IE 11.
I mean, it works better than previous generations, but
I mean,
I
still
don't see it as a very good browser compared to like Firefox or Chrome.
No, absolutely not. It's nowhere near. It's nowhere near the level of those two. But they do have a new browser. It's called Project Spartan. That's not what they're actually going to call it once it's officially released with Windows 10. Do you want to take a guess?
That they are going to name it something completely different.
I think they're going to call it Cortana. It's not going to be called
Project Spartan, and it's not going to be called Internet Explorer.
I think it's going to be called Cortana.
That's confusing, though. They already have Cortana. That's the assistant.
Should they call it Bing?
They should be. They need to call it something completely different. They can't lump it in with anything else because that's just confusing. Cortana is the voice assistant. That's the name for their voice software. If they call it Cortana, it's going to be so confusing that it's the voice assistant that you're talking about. Are you talking about the voice assistant, or are you talking about the browser?
See, so Bing browser would be the most logical, but Bing is a tainted brand too.
To a degree, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Bing isn't that great.
They've never been able to brand that very well. They've struggled to brand that ever since they started calling it Live.
Oh my God, yeah, it was Live, right? What was it before Live?
Was it Live before Bing?
It was MSN.
They've had like 3 or 4 different names for the same stuff.
Yeah. I can't even remember that. It's so long ago. Bing is their last version. But yeah, it was Live before then. Then they had MSN. And then I can't remember what it was before that. Maybe it was MSN and then it became, whatever else. Interesting to... I'm really hopeful that this operating system is going to kind of, be good compared to what happened with Windows 8. I can't see it being worse, really, especially with publicity. But I know you're hopeful that this is better than Windows 8 because you are not a fan.
No. Whatever they did with Sinofsky was just an absolute disaster. And I think they've walked it back quite a bit from the Sinofsky era. I think they've fundamentally have moved on from the direction that he was pushing with Windows 8. And they finally figured out that they alienated their core base of desktop users with Windows 8. I mean, that stuff works fine for touch tablets and touch-based devices, but if you're a desktop user, I'm sorry, but it does absolutely nothing for me. The way that they've integrated their new modern UI inside of the desktop, I think works really well for desktop users and people like myself that are power users that actually use the desktop.
Yeah, Seattle Mike says something interesting. I don't get why people think Bing or Google is better than the other. They're both the same thing at this point, but it's just
Google image search is better.
Google, it is kind of. I've public
heard that
perception
argument so many times that Bing image search is better.
Bing image search is better.
I don't really give a crap.
I think they're both fine. If you're happy with it, it works for you. That's the interface you're going to use. I don't care what you're using, really. It's just a public perception thing. People just don't connect with Bing where they do with Google because Google has become synonymous with, search. Everybody says Google it. They don't say Bing it. If you do, you are a bizarre guy. John, what was that story about Windows 10 being given for free to even pirated copies? Did you follow that one?
That's what Microsoft is saying, is that even if you have a pirated copy, you're going to have some sort of upgrade option. They're not really clear on exactly what that option is and how it'll be handed out, but they're saying that even if you are using a pirated copy of Windows, there's going to be some way for you to upgrade to Windows 10.
I guess this is good for security purposes, right? They're saying, well, listen, we don't care if you pirated a copy of Windows 7, 5, 6 years ago. They're making a lot of mea
culpas here.
What?
That's what they're doing. They're making a lot of mea culpa.
Yeah, well, they're trying to kind of...
They're really walking back all the dumb stuff they did with Windows 8.
Well, I mean, this is totally different now. And this is the question that I've had. So you have a pirated copy of Windows right now on your computer, let's say, and you get that prompt for Windows 10. They say, okay, well, here, you could update it. What happens to, they just totally erase the fact that you're running a pirated copy? I guess they don't care. The bigger picture is, security and more people on the platform. They want to be able to, you know what they want? They want to say within 6 months, 70% of all Windows 7 and Windows 8 users have opted in for the upgrade. That's the kind of number that they want. But if you're given a free upgrade, why would you stay with Windows 7? That's my question.
I was reading an article from somebody explaining exactly their reasons for it, and they're saying that there's just not enough of a reason for them to move from Windows 7 to Windows 10. There's just they're very much a desktop user like myself, but they still don't see anything in Windows 10 that would improve their workflow whatsoever in Windows 10, which would make them want to upgrade to Windows 10. So they're going to stick with Windows 7 because Windows 7 does everything that they needed to do, and Windows 10 does not improve whatsoever in their workflow. Which I can kind of understand, because that was kind of my same argument with Windows 8. And in the sense that, well, Windows 7 does everything that I needed to do, and Windows 8 offers me nothing.
Well, I mean, that was the argument with XP, really. That's what people said for years. The problem with Windows 8 was not that it didn't offer anything. It was that it was so bizarre and different. It was this Frankenstein of an operating system.
I think it took things away for most desktop users.
By the way, Paul Thurrott is saying that Microsoft is not going to be giving away a free copy to pirates.
Yeah, I don't know if they mentioned it was going to be free or not, but they said that they're going to have some sort of option for pirated copies to be upgraded.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, it's interesting that they're even acknowledging the pirated, copies out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go into a story, John? You want to pick something?
So I know that you're a big fan of expensive watches. Brands like Tag Heuer is coming out and saying that they want to make the first luxury Android Wear watch. They're saying that they're choosing Android Wear because they don't really like Apple and the way that Apple operates. So they want something that's more open and easier to customize. So they are teaming up with Google and I think a couple other companies to make this. Trying to find exactly what company. So there's a company that they're going to have actually make it. That's completely separate.
Yeah, I'm looking at the device. Actually, there's the overall device is not design has not been finalized, but I'm anticipating.
Yeah,
it's gonna
basically
be,
all they're going to do is make sure that it's designed to what they expect a watch to be. But other than that, they're letting everybody else figure it out.
yeah, and I guarantee you this thing is not going to be cheap. I mean, and that's the problem. And again, this is the same exact problem that.
But this is a luxury watch company making a smartwatch. So shouldn't this be right up your alley then?
No, it is not, because will not. If I buy a tag right now, I go and listen, tags. I mean, they go up and down, but you could get a $500 tag, you could get a $1,000 tag, a $3,000 tag, $7,000 tag. If I were to go buy a tag now, no matter what I spent on that watch, if I spent $500 or $7,000, I know in 20 years I can still wear that tag watch. That's where the investment is in buying a luxury watch, an expensive watch. I don't want to have a computer on my wrist and be invested.
You don't want something that's going to
$2,000.
be obsolete in 2 years.
I mean, listen, I understand
even if
with
it
technology.
is luxury.
Listen, I understand with computers, right? You get a computer, use it for a couple of years, and then you buy a new one. I get that. That same mentality does not exist for me. It may for someone else for jewelry. I mean, essentially, you're investing in a piece of jewelry, and I want it to last for as long as I bought it, as long as it's not, broken. I don't want it to turn obsolete because nobody's supporting this type of device anymore. Listen, I think this is going to be a trend. I think it's going to be an option for a lot of people. I think all the designers are going to start doing this. We're going to have a smart watch. But am I interested in it? No,
Let me ask
personally,
you,
I'm not.
what if the watch itself was upgradable, where you could have the band, you can buy it, it'll be with the watch and the band, but every 2 years they can come out and add a new face or whatever it is called, the new timepiece to the band,
And you're paying a limited.
you can keep that band for as long as you want, but you can switch out the timepiece itself every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
For a reasonable amount of money, for whatever it costs for it to be a luxury watch, but it'll have upgraded hardware in it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how they would justify that. I'm just looking at, I guess, the actual.
Because that's
watch.
kind of your argument right there. Is that you want something that's going to be long lasting, and technology isn't necessarily long lasting. With the technology that we have today, everything is just always outpaced in a couple of years.
Well, I'll tell you something about Rolexes, right?
If it's replaced every couple of years for a reasonable cost, plus the cost of that luxury, would that suffice for you?
I don't know. It depends. It depends on, how much the actual watch is going to be. The actual, mechanism is going to be. Because that's the expense. That's the intricate part. That's the part that, handcrafted and set and all that stuff. The people that are going to be buying smartwatches, 99.9% of them are not going to be going and buying a tag version of it. If Apple is putting out a watch, $350 watch,
so what they need to do is they need to design a luxury watch where basically you can just easily replace the internals, where basically you have the smartwatch is just a little insert into this device, into a case that is your watch.
Yeah, listen, I have no problem.
You open it up, you open up the case, and you just insert the plastic part that's basically the smartwatch.
Yeah, sure. And
but everything else stays the same. Everything's all diamond encrusted or whatever you want, whatever is platinum. It's all blinged out. All you do is you open up the case and insert the smartwatch portion of it, and you can replace that every couple of years. That way, all you're paying for is the actual technology.
Well, here's my stance on smartwatches. I don't think we're there yet for the smartwatch that we all want. I don't want a Rolex version of a smartwatch. You know what I want? I just want a real good smartwatch that kind of fits all my needs. They're two separate things, in my opinion. I'm not even considering luxury with technology. Technology goes obsolete when you're spending the money on a luxury watch or a Rolex or a Tag or an Omega. You're buying it with the hopes that you're going to wear this thing for a long, long time. You don't know. There's no guarantee that the technology is going to work 5 years from now. There's no guarantee that it's going to be upgradable. For how long? How long are they going to upgrade this thing? Then you're stuck with a band that's worthless that nobody wants because it's not. You can't even resell it in 10 years. So that's how I see it. I do think Apple's going to get this right. I don't necessarily think this is the one device. I don't think this first one is the one that's right. I think 2 generations from now, it's going to be the thing that everybody wants. It's going to be the iPad 2 craze again, and I'm going to say, you know what? I may buy one. But right now, I'm not getting one. But I guarantee you a lot of people will.
You could be an early adopter.
I can, but I never am. I'm never an early adopter. I hang on to what I have, and when it's right, I go and get it. Seattle Mike says, I have my Rolex from my grandfather. It's worth more today than he got it. Yeah, absolutely. These things, depending on which one you get, they're worth a lot of money. Is there any more stories, John?
There is one more story. Streaming music sales in the U.S. beat CDs for the first time. Revenues from streaming services like Spotify and RDO overtook CD sales last year, a first for the music industry, according to the data from the RIAA. Streaming sales hit $1.87 billion last year, which is a 29% jump from 2013, while CD revenues fell 12.7%, reaching only $1.85 billion. But naturally, digital downloads still rule the music realm, accounting for 37% of the total market and $2.57 billion in sales.
I had this discussion with someone about album sales and how music has changed now, and nobody's buying albums. Like, even album sales are down because everybody buys the single that they want and they're done. Mm-hmm.
Most artists don't have an entire complete album that's great from start to finish. I mean, you're always going to find, probably 4 songs on an album that you don't care for.
Yeah, and that's just how it is. But I'm telling you right now, I always download from I always did that. But now with Spotify, I just get it on Spotify. If it's on Spotify, get it. I mean, there's only a few select artists that aren't on Spotify, and those are the ones if I like them, I'm going to go and download the music. But generally, I'm just streaming it on Spotify, or I'm streaming, a station on Pandora or some other service. I can't even tell you when. When's the last CD that I bought? Probably 2003.
I can't believe people still buy CDs.
People do.
I'm like, that's just like, really? I barely even use CDs now. I barely even burn CDs. Like, optical media, that's just weird.
I think for some people it is, and for some people it's not. My mother-in-law,
I suppose if you have a car that has a CD player and that's your only way to get music in there, I guess.
Jessica's grandmother just recently bought a CD. She went to the store and bought a CD. So there's still people hanging on to it. I have no interest in optical media, in physical media. I just want, I want it on my phone, and that's it. I'm done.
Exactly. I just want it on whatever device I want to listen to it on.
Yeah. So, John, we are going to end it early. We started a couple minutes early, but it was a quick show today. The weather is awful here, to be honest. I don't know if I'm going to... What's going on outside? It's actually like a blizzard out there. It's crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah. Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. We did a quick show today, but sometimes it's shorter than other weeks, John. Just how it works.
That's fine, because I'm not feeling the greatest anyway.
John is still sick, guys. He needs to rest up. Your couch is beautiful, though. I like that couch behind you. Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. If you go to our website, subscribe to us wherever our podcasts are available. You can support us on Amazon by using our Amazon link, gfq.co/Amazon. Every time we make a purchase, we get a tiny little credit. If you want to fund us, you want to help us out, you can go to patreon.com/whatthetech and fund us anything you want to fund us. $1, $2, whatever it is, we accept it all. And that's it, guys. We'll see you all next week. Take care.